Hi, I'm Forrest Griffin.
Brian Caraway.
And Lisa Tate.
What's up, guys? This is Joseph Benavidez, UFC flyweight.
Hi, this is Greg Jackson, and you're listening to It's MMAzing, and that is an amazing pun.
Get it? Like MMA, but amazing? MMAzing.
Radio.
Welcome to It's MMAzing Radio. I am your host, Dr. Law. With me, as always, DJ Mark.
So,
also joining me this week, Lavender Gooms.
hey guys.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Who can complain, right?
Yeah.
I rammed Sandra into a runner this morning.
Win-win. See, everyone's having a great day so far. A little homicide.
For people, homicide. For
Homicide.
I don't know what happened to that guy. All I know is he ran him over.
For people who aren't regular listeners or have chosen to tune out Mike at times when he talks about this topic, his Sandra is the man's electric scooter. Which let me tell you, the weather's been nice here, or nicer, I guess. People been zipping around in those. I've seen a couple of people zipping around in those scooters, Mike. I've seen it.
I mean, I know you're jealous. I know you want one. For those of you that want more context, I was zipping my way to work on Sandra, and it was my light, and some fuckhead who was running decides to not look both ways before he decides to dart into the middle of the street. And I had a split second to think to myself, all right, I'm either going to swerve out of the way, save this guy, or and cause possible real harm to myself. I thought about doing that for half a second, and then I thought, fuck this guy. He ran out to the middle of the road. I'm using him as cushion, and I rammed into his ass going 12 to 15 miles per hour, and he deserved every bit of it.
Guys, so let's just hope none of the people listening to this podcast are one of the ones that the person Mike ran into.
Hey, guess what? I can do that. You know why? Because I had right away.
I mean,
there you go. Justifiable homicide,
right.
Just like I said.
Right. No one's dead. Homicide.
We don't know. Have you been keeping tabs on him? We don't know.
I saw him walk away afterwards, so he's good.
Limped away. Yeah. And then later he had a brain aneurysm.
I was gonna say the internal bleeding takes some time to set in, folks. All right, guys. Got a pay-per-view to talk about this weekend. That's happening this weekend. Izzy Adesanya, Bobby Knuckles, gonna fight for that middleweight championship. We're gonna have a rematch from a fight that was, gotta say, about 2 or so years ago. I want to say. We'll get the exact date by the time this thing starts. Where Izzy took that strap off of Whittaker in was it a stadium? Was it? They did it in the first time, I want to say. Or a very large venue, one way or the other. Down in, I think they fought the fight in New Zealand? You know what? Probably should have figured this out before I started talking. But we're going to see if anybody...
Just keep vamping, I'll get it for you.
Yeah, anybody, just look up whatever pay-per-view that was, when it was, how big the venue was. Just do the research, buddy, that I should have done. We're going to see...
It was in the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, Australia.
All right, which is kind of big, because it's called Stadium. When was it, Mike?
October 5th, 2019.
Yep, a little bit over 2.5 years approaching.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to see if anybody here thinks Bobby Knuckles got himself another chance. Got himself a chance to take that title back. Some good fights on that card, including a co-main event that one of the participants agreed to while drunk, agreeing to it while texting while he was drunk. So that's nice. Leading up to that, we're going to talk about Sean Strickland and this card that happened this past weekend, which I think I saw more of than any of these Just Some Fights cards in quite some time. Some news about one of the participants. Sounds like he's half retiring or something. We're going to talk about Henry Cejudo coming out of retirement, or at least re-entering the USADA testing pool, so he can fight at 145 pounds. Personally, he should have considered baseball, because right now baseball is not drug testing anybody for steroids, which everybody's going to be so swole come spring training, Mike. It's going to be great.
My Mets players please read that news article. No more drug testing. All right.
For now.
If you guys don't come back juicy, you're not doing it right.
I mean, if you get on that right cycle right now, you might be okay. Mike, did you not appreciate the Mets history I gave you in that photo I sent you earlier this week? We're just way off topic now. Sent Mike a picture of Taz and Bobby Valentine from like 2001.
And I'm pretty sure that's Hook in his arm, right?
Yeah, it is. That is a
Taz's
young
arms?
Hook. That is the handsome chap that is Hook. Taz's demeanor and everybody's demeanor in that family makes a lot more sense knowing they're Mets fans.
That's right. No one's angrier than a Mets fan.
Yeah. All right, guys. This past weekend, though, let's talk about MMA. Sean Strickland making a lot of headlines, acting crazy. We talked about it last week. Playing up the gimmick quite a bit. Went out there and I'll give him this. I feel there was more people talking about a random card on a Saturday than usual. One of these cards. But most of those people were making jokes about Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland jabbed Jack Hermansson for 25 minutes. Well, for 24 minutes and 45 seconds. And then the last 15 seconds, he called Jack Hermansson a pussy. And they started throwing some hands, and then the fight was over. Honestly, don't begrudge a man for winning, Marcus, in a world where half your paycheck depends on winning. Just seems like a lot of people were disappointed. We're sold a false bill of goods, which seems strange considering the man doesn't knock anybody out, and he does a decision all the time. What'd you think of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I could maybe understand fans that weren't familiar with his recent fights and were just going purely off, interviews and how he kind of portrays himself, and then being disappointed in the performance and, maybe not him going after the finish, which, even I think Bisping criticized him during the match. But, having...
Well, Bisping's logic was solid, too. Pardon me. Bisping's logic of if you want to leapfrogging these other guys fighting this weekend to get a title shot, you're going to want to put a stamp on it here, But
and Bisping would know he was a guy in that division in a similar position where, he was getting a lot of wins. I mean, Bisping also lost those big fights he needed to, but he was also a guy that when he was in control of those fights, he would turn up the heat and finish guys. Yeah. And that's why we saw him, get a lot of TKOs by accumulation, because maybe not, known for his, power so much as, his consistency, but he is a fighter who knew how to turn up the heat. And that's something that you could criticize about Strickland in this fight. In the last couple of his fights. I mean, for me personally, I do find him to have interesting characteristics in the cage. I don't think I've seen someone manage the distance as well as he does in a boxing stance. He really controlled this fight. I mean, we can say it was all the jab, but it's really just his complete control of distancing, timing, and being able to land his shots and get out of the way of Jack's. And Jack really needed to change the complexity of this fight. He needed to take it to the ground. He needed to turn this into a grappling match. And because he could not control that distancing, he couldn't get any worthwhile shots.
There was no plan B, it seemed like, beyond. Like, he seemed like his agenda was to take him down. And once he couldn't, it was just... And, a lot of this, as you mentioned, this is all based on distance, but there didn't seem to be a big plan for what to do beyond if you couldn't take him down.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely doesn't really have the striking regiment to kind of figure those things out on the fly, but there are things in Strickland's game that makes him somewhat susceptible in the stand-up. And it's mostly, he keeps his hands down. He does a good job defending himself by, like I said, managing that distance and taking a half step back just to get out of range. But he is always in kicking range. Jack had some success with low kicks and kicks to the body. And I think with combination, because Strickland was not super interested in staying in the pocket and exchanging with him, he was much more interested in having a turn-based battle where basically he would get his turn, throw his jab or a combination of punches, and then Jack would throw his. And there wasn't a lot of back and forth exchanges until you like you mentioned in the fifth round, where they kind of went down in the last 10 seconds and did exchange in the pocket a little bit more. Jack's inability to get him down, his inability to fight at range, to use those kicks more effectively to try to stop Sean, basically hampered his chances to win this fight. And we basically saw, Strickland control the fight. And like you said, there was some times, I think it, like we discussed before the show, I think it was the end of the second round, Mike said that, Strickland actually did throw a counter punch. And even though it didn't land cleanly, it put Jack on his ass. And there was a few times where he started to follow up the jab with a right, straight or a right overhand. to kind of mix it up, but nothing substantial enough to really do, consistent
He
damage.
very
But a
much,
good outing.
Yeah, I mean, great win for him. He beat another good fighter. I think Hermansson
Probably
was
the best fighter on his resume so far.
I mean,
so.
I was gonna say beating Hall was pretty impressive after Hall's streak there, but
he's up there.
Yeah, big win for him, and it kind of just felt like you didn't know what round it was by the way he was fighting. You know what I mean? Like, could have been any round.
I think it
is very measured in each round.
Yeah, and you can talk about maybe how it wasn't the most exciting fight, but what I really saw was a dude put in 5 pretty good rounds, pretty good output, and did not look worse for shape. He did not. He
looked like he could have kept going for another 5 rounds.
Yeah, he paced himself extremely well. So I mean, this is a guy that can fight 5 rounds controlled and not get tired is pretty substantial. I mean, when you look at the other way with Jack, he definitely seemed more frantic. It seemed like his output wasn't nearly as high, but he was using a lot more energy and getting tired. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with his takedowns. And
I guess it's also like some people were just like, it felt like Strickland could have. I mean, okay, let's go to Mike on this. Mike, he said he fought like a pussy. I don't think that's
Strickland said he felt like he fought like a pussy.
Did you watch the post-fight interview he had with Bisping?
No.
Okay, he says I fought like a pussy. I'm not sure any of us would think that's a thing when you win a cage fight. There is no fighting like a pussy, but I don't think
I would disagree with his own assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, even though he's literally the one that was in the cage for 25 minutes, I think, as we just mentioned, he was fighting a lot more measured. I think this may have been his first 5-round fight. His second.
He went 5-5. He went 5 hard with Uriah also.
Because I remember, in his earlier fights, he would blitz a lot more and use a lot more energy in those 3-round contests. And I think this is him learning that to go a full 25 rounds, you can't go balls to the wall from the beginning. He may call it being, fighting like a pussy. I call it being strategic.
I mean, I don't know. He went 5-0. He won all 5 rounds with Uriah. Then he won all 5 of those rounds too. I don't think he helped his case making those comments. Honestly, because who wants to fight this weekend? That's on the card.
Derek Brunson and Jared Cannonier.
I don't want to cast aspersions on each of those gentlemen, but both of them have been known to put on a snooze fest. It happens. It's fine. I don't know. It's gonna be hard to. I don't know. I'm thinking it's very possible these other guys put on a snooze fest too, and then he's right there.
Here's the thing. Right now, he might be in the driver's position, but it's a very tenuous hold on the driver's position that he has, because all he needs is for Derek Brunson or Jared Cannonier to knock one or the other out in not even spectacular fashion, just in, just a knockout fashion. And that might be enough to knock him from getting the next title shot.
them just winning a decision and not calling themselves pussies might actually be enough for them to.
Yeah, that didn't help either.
Anyway, then again, Derek Brunson getting a title shot, as deserved as it may be, if Izzy Adesanya still got that championship, that's going to be a tough sell. He's going to have to really put on a performance. Rest of this card, I have something else for Sean Strickland. No, never mind. We can move on. Nick Maximov, Punahele Soriano. I'm assuming I'm only going to watch any of these fights, right?
Correct.
Okay. That was only relevant because he is he's a Nick Diaz Academy guy, and he just wrestled this dude to a decision. And Nate people are just like, because Nate was there, and Nate's cheering his buddy on, and he's excited, And people are like, why is Nate cheering? I thought Nate hates ground and pound. And I'm like, he hates takedowns. And I'm just like, bro, it's his friend. Why wouldn't he root for his teammate? That's a little disappointing. Brendan Allen, Sam Alvey. Brendan Allen took this fight on 4 days' notice. Beat Sam Alvey up. Won in the second round there. Sam Alvey said he's going to have to do some self-reflecting before he takes another UFC fight. Sam Alvey's lost 8
of them things.
Sam Alvey ain't won a fight in so long.
Do he got naked pictures of Dana White? How you lose 8 in a row, son?
I think he lives so close to the sent to the whatever they call it, the Apex. They're not even paying for the Uber ride. Like I think Sam is just walking up, and that's it, bro. I don't know. I mean,
Sam might be security at the
I
performance.
mean, he lost 7 of them. One of them was a draw.
It's basically a loss.
It's just not going well. We don't want anybody to lose their job, but Marcus, this isn't going to fix the video's not going to fix itself unless you disconnect and reconnect.
It seems his job is to just lose. All right, he's like, all right. I was watching AEW Dark Elevation before we started here, and I saw there was a guy there that was 0-6, and all I thought was, well, jobbers are important as well. I mean, is Sam Alvey the first UFC jobber?
No, because there's all these other guys making. Why are they paying Sam Alvey $50,000 a job when they can have a guy making $10,000 job?
He's an excellent jobber. That's why. Jobbing ain't for everybody, Bobby.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, man. He seems like he's a capable person who speaks well. Maybe he can get one of those desk jobs too at the UFC. Seems like someone who would do well with there. And the other thing I enjoyed from this card was there was a gentleman, Brian Battle and Treson Gore. Brian Battle couldn't see out of one eye for a good amount of this fight, to the point that I'm like, why aren't they stopping this? But he won. And then Bisping was like, oh, the eye was compromised, yada, 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 when he was talking to him. And Battle's like, who needs 2 good eyes? And Bisping goes, don't I know it, buddy? And I was like, that was the best part of the whole. That was honestly the best part of the whole card that I saw. I enjoyed that.
Michael's Bisping won a championship with only one eye.
Michael, I just want to say, I think Michael Bisping is really good as a commentator. I think he does a really good job. For someone, I think we all probably, if we were going to guess one of these fighters was going to get their ego involved and, make it about them and stuff and get in fights with fighters there. People probably probably thought Bisping would be one of those people. I think Bisping does a really good job there. I think he handles himself very professionally in that context, and the stuff he talks about is like good insight, and he seems like he does his homework on not to say other people like DC aren't doing their homework, but I think Bisping is definitely doing his homework when he goes out there. What do you think, Marcus?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's slotted himself well. I think him and Felder, for the most part, do a pretty good job. It definitely has been a good pivot for him overall in his career. He was always good on the mic, and he's a good analysis. So he's good having the booth.
Yeah, pretty decent YouTube channel too. If you're looking for some more Michael Bisping content, just saying, pretty decent. All right, some news. Sounds like Kamaru Usman had a little hand surgery, but he'll be back in time, he says, for International Fight Week.
You know what I didn't need? I didn't need Dana White tweeting out a picture of Kamaru Usman's surgery.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah, it looked gross.
I mean, that's not nice.
The inside of his hand looked like what it looks like when you split open a filet-o-fish.
Bony.
I think he's had his hand broke. Hasn't he broken his hand too before a few times with Kamaru?
Hold up, Mark. Your filet-o-fish got bone in it?
A lot of fish has bone in it.
No. Like a McDonald's filet.
Oh, McDonald's. Well,
that barely got fish in it.
Yeah, Mike. A filet of fish is not only the McDonald's product. You can also just have a filet of fish, and it usually does contain a lot of bone.
When someone says filet-o-fish, come on, baby. You only talking about Mickey D's.
I have happily never had a filet of fish, so it does not come. It is not on the forefront of my mind.
Me neither. It's disgusting.
Okay.
I've had
tartar sauce, American cheese, and fried fish. Gross.
Okay. Not that I'm trying to say anything at McDonald's tastes good, but it's as good as any other burgers or sandwiches you get there, man. It's fine.
Well, that's not true.
You haven't had it. I'm the only one who's had it here.
I've bitten into a filet of fish before, and that's all I need.
You had a bite of someone else's sandwich. They're like, this thing can't get any grosser, Mike. Why don't you get a big old juicy bite out of this bad boy before I finish it off?
You already know, Mark.
Yeah,
that was my filet of fish right now. Bobby, there was news of something.
What were you talking about, Bobby?
I don't even remember anymore. No, Usman had hand surgery. He'll be back in July. Cool. Other story that seems to be happening is that We got Henry. So people are like, Dana White's like, if Henry Cejudo's serious, he'll re-enter the USADA pool. Well, Henry Cejudo's serious, so he's re-entering the USADA pool. I'm going to be the only person advocating for this, but the man won 2 other championships. Let's see if he can win a 1 and a 3rd weight class.
I mean, why not?
Why the fuck not?
That sells. He's the first one to get 3 division title holder. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
Quadruple C doesn't have the same ring to it, though.
4C?
True.
It says 4G. He's 4C.
C4? Oh, C4.
C4? Oh, that's a good one.
Well, now he's got to get another one. So put a lot on him.
Oh, all right. If he comes back and he challenges for the 145, I'm rooting for him.
Speaking of 145-pound title, as it's been established that the Korean Zombie is taking on Volkanovski because Max was hurt. But it turns out Max has now been cleared, and Max said he would like to be the replacement, or whatever, the backup for that fight. And not that I'm trying to take money out of Korean Zombie's pocket, but if he's okay, let's just do the fight, right? Let's just do that 3rd fight right now and call it a day. No, like
I feel contracts have been signed already. You know, Zombie's probably already spending money on a training camp.
The UFC contracts aren't worth the money they're printed on. Okay, come on now, that's what's happening. Let's be honest. Yeah, okay, well, that's what we got going on there. 145. The weight class, Alex beat everybody. And Max and Alex are better than everybody else in that weight class. Like, it's just the way it is. So, let's get Henry in there. Alex is short,
that's why Henry can jump in and get a shot fairly easily once he clears this pool bottom.
I'm just saying,
this boy's clean.
It's more interesting if Alex is still the champion than if Max gets the title back before they fight.
How much shorter is Henry going to be than those other guys?
That's the thing. Alex is like 5'6".
I was going to say probably not much shorter than Alex.
I think Henry's 5'4". Like, it's not that, but Max is like 5'11", I think. Max is not that short, for 145 pounds at all. So that's what I'm saying. If it's going to happen, Volkanovski's the one to do it with. And man, fuck, let's have some fun. Let's see if a guy can win another belt. And if he wins that one, let's book him and Izzy Adesanya. Let's just keep doing this. That's not Izzy next? No.
Wouldn't the next one be 155?
I skipped like 3 belts.
Yeah.
Give him who's the champion?
Charles.
155.
Charles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's either Charles or
Gaethje. That's next.
Yeah. Then if he wins that one, he fights Kamaru. The hand will be back. And we'll be fine. And then we get Izzy.
4 championships. I'll be pretty effing impressed.
I think by the time he fights Kamaru, he's just gonna be just like a bowling ball.
It's very true.
He doesn't look any different, and then eventually at one of the weigh-ins, people are like, "This man's weighing 30 pounds of ankle weights on his legs." He's just got really thick ass socks on, just wearing 30 pounds of ankle weights. All right, let's talk about this pay-per-view that's coming this weekend. Live this Saturday from the Target Center in Houston, Texas. Clutch City, as those people like to call themselves, which has lost all meaning when James Harden was on their team all those years. They're not Clutch City anymore. Zing. Suck on it, Houston. Main evented by Israel Adesanya, the Last Stylebender, and Robert, I like to call myself the Reaper, but nobody likes that nickname. I'm really Bobby Knuckles, Whittaker. 5 rounds. A rematch of a fight that took place, as Mike mentioned, back in October of 19, which saw Whittaker lose his title in front of all of his friends and family to Izzy Adesanya in a fight that wasn't even a little bit close. Like, I went back and watched it. It wasn't even a little bit close. It was almost a problem immediately what was happening in that fight for Robert Whittaker. The rematch here, we got some fight odds for this. Do you gentlemen have it in front of you?
I do have it in front of me.
What are the fight odds, Mike?
Izzy, are we going with DraftKings, FanDuel?
I mean, considering you're going to actually bet on these things, I should wonder, should we just always bet FanDuel? Because that's your book of choice.
I think we should do FanDuel.
Yeah. Let's go FanDuel.
According to FanDuel, Israel Adesanya is a negative 265 favorite.
Whittaker coming in at a plus 210 underdog.
210.
Yes. By the way, I can't wait for the Super Bowl. It's going to be like half gambling commercials minimum. It's all going to be gambling commercials. Marcus, Izzy Adesanya since that first fight, he's 3-1.
Lost.
His only loss is to Jan Blachowicz. Wins over Yoel Romero. I'm trying to do this off memory. Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa, Marvin Vittori. Since the fight though, Robert Whittaker 3-0 wins over the likes of Jared Cannonier, Darren Till, Calvin Gastelum, all three by decision. My feeling, we didn't learn anything new about either of these gentlemen in these 7 fights they had between the two of them. Honestly, my 2 cents. However, people think Robert Whittaker's been in the lab, made some adjustments. Do you agree? Are we going to get a new champion this weekend?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Izzy's going to retain. I mean, for me, I think it's not even like a horrible thing. Some of the shine wore off. Him going up to light heavyweight and losing to Jan, which I think it's, I don't want to lose sight of, like, that's an incredible feat just to even attempt that. You had Anderson who never really attempted to go after the belt at 205, even though he had a couple of fights there and performed really well. It was very amiable of Izzy to shoot for the stars, but not to get it. So I think that does take a little bit of his kind of like destructor mentality, this aura he had built around him, off a bit, but not enough to where I think Robert has made major adjustments. Or even in Robert's fights, I haven't seen anything in the Calvin or Jared or even Till fight to really make me think like, okay, this guy has made these huge corrections. It seems
Didn't you apologize, Marcus, you've already felt like he was on a different level. I mean, he was already clearly a class above those gentlemen already. That was the logic going into them, and we'd almost, what was he going to show us, I guess, was you're almost going to see, unless he was just icing these people in less than 2 minutes or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking at his competition before Izzy, I think it was greater competition, and he had a few stops, a few stoppages there, which he hasn't done in his last 3 fights. They've all been decisions. So what I'm interested to see is that I think Whittaker is going to be more measured in this fight. I think in the first fight, I felt like he had a really hard time judging the distance, and that's something that he had become very good at in his last couple fights, was winging these big punches and being in the right distance to connect with those punches, and he wasn't able to even get close in the pocket with Izzy, feeling comfortable to throw those big punches and land. And ultimately, it was in the pocket where Izzy was able to exploit him and hit him with a good hard, I think it was like a left hook that finished him. So, yeah, overall, I think Izzy's just going to have still too much in the stand-up, too many dynamic tools in his chest to really, for Whittaker to make any big strides here. If we've seen him adapt to more of a grappling game, which I think we have to some degree, maybe he goes that route, but I just don't see him doing that. So I think the smart money's on Izzy, and it's up to Whittaker to make that big adjustment and to prove to us that he can win this fight, but I just don't see it in the cards.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Izzy also. I think it almost be. I say this sometimes when we're getting rematches, but this weight class is another one where like Izzy's got nobody to fight. I mean, has he beat Cannonier before? He embarrassed Brunson. Do we know if he beat Cannonier before?
I don't think he fought Cannonier.
Cannonier got to like the #1 contender fight, then I think he lost.
Okay.
And he hasn't fought Strickland, which I think stylistically is interesting, but I don't think
that's going to be a rough night. I think Strickland especially is a rough night for Strickland. I'd
like to see it. I mean, I think he has hard time with kicks, what I think Izzy's very good at, but the boxing, he's definitely there. So I think it'd be an interesting matchup. But yeah.
So it'd almost be for the sake of entertainment in this division, Robert winning this would be good. Also, because I don't know what Robert does if he's got 2 losses to the champion. Like, you end up, I mean, I guess you eventually get a 3rd shot, Max Holloway style. But, like, I don't know. I think if he wins this one, a 3rd one would be even better. It would be a great seller. But, we'll see. Izzy's got, like, 1 fight left on his deal after this or something. So, we'll see where that goes. But Robert Whittaker might have made the adjustments. By the way, I've really enjoyed Izzy trying to, like, sell this fight against the nicest person in MMA to be like, oh, Whittaker's not a good person. Everybody's just like, Izzy, we get that you're trying, man. Shut up. We're not here for the feud. We haven't seen the adjustments. Mark, you said it. We don't know. You know? So maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Has Izzy gotten better? Izzy says he has. Maybe he has too. You know, he embarrassed Paulo Costa. You know, I don't really how much I'm supposed to begrudge him for losing to Jan when Jan was probably 30 pounds heavier than him. But 30 pounds sounds conservative, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because Izzy weighed like 198 or something, didn't he, or something like that, or 200 pounds? And then Jan Jan's a big boy.
Izzy's shots just had no effect on Jan in that fight.
But yeah, I got Izzy holding on to that belt. Mike, what do you think?
Yep, I have it as well. For me, none of the shine came off of Izzy from the Jan fight because he fought someone that was just so much bigger than him. When Anderson went up to 205, all right, look, I understand that Forrest was a former champion and Stephan Bonner was on all of the juice, but let's face it. I mean, compared to Jan Blachowicz, those guys are bums. All right. Like,
okay. Whoa. Forrest literally lost the championship in the fight before he fought Anderson. I know Forrest was just like a try hard, but at the time, I mean, he was good. That was a good win. That was a good win.
Didn't you cost Steph a shit ton of money by telling him?
Yeah, Steph lost like $50. I lost like 200 on that thing. Okay, I just thought Forrest being a 3-1 underdog after just being the champion felt like a bit excessive. Okay,
and in hindsight, not a big enough.
Dude, I literally remember because we all bet some money. I just remember the first exchange was terrible for Forrest, and I remember Mark saying, "Oh no." I have it in my head. The memory of Mark was, oh no. Anyway, go ahead.
But I don't know if Robert will be able to beat Adesanya mainly because, I mean, has he gotten better? I don't know. He's still as good as he was before when he was champion. We've seen Israel be as good as he's always been, at least at middleweight. So I don't see any reason to pick against Adesanya in this rematch, at least for now. Whittaker would have had to have gotten really good at his wrestling for this to really make a difference for me. And I don't think that has happened.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Bobby Knuckles by Lay and Pray. 25 minutes of it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's something that we're really going to be expecting.
Clean sweep, though. And Chalk is with us as well, obviously. Co-main event for this one. Not a second title fight. Interestingly enough. Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa said he was hammered when he agreed to this fight. And he woke up seeing that he had texts from the UFC matchmakers and also that he had responded to said texts. So, here we are. On the other hand, Derek Lewis, first fight since he got, he'll admit it, he got embarrassed by Cyril Gane.
He had a fight after that.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he fought Chris Ducasse.
Oh, yeah,
big fluffy guy, yeah.
That's why I'm the champ. Whoa, let me grab my belt. That fight is why I'm the champion, baby.
Yep.
Mike chose a white cop against Derek Lewis, letting down everybody, okay? Disappointing on every level.
Black fights matter, man.
Anyway, Derek Lewis, though, I'm bringing up that he got embarrassed by Cyril Gane because he said part of the problem was all the pressure he felt fighting in Houston, which is his hometown. Mark, what is the location of the Target Center where this fight is taking place?
No, I just have to imagine it's Houston then, right?
I
don't even know. I don't know where the Target
Center
Center
is. The hometown of Beyonce.
I'm sorry, Toyota Center. Yeah, it is in Houston. Fighting again in Houston, presumably less pressure, though, fighting Tai Tuivasa on the co-main event. Rather
and
for
also
the
less pressure because, you got embarrassed in your hometown already. It can't get any worse.
Betting odds for this one at the FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 192 for Derek Lewis. I'm sorry, minus the 192 for Derek Lewis, plus 154 for Tai Tuivasa. I can hear Stefan groaning about these betting odds, not having zeros or fives on them. He's had one fight, Mark mentioned, since losing to Cyril Gahn, making me a champion. You know, knocking out Dacus. Tai Tuivasa, on the other hand, is fucking people up. Tai Tuivasa has got 4 fights of knocking motherfuckers out. Knocked out Stefan Struve. Knocked out Harry Hunsucker. Knocked out Greg Hardy. And the only one to make it out of the first round. Knocked out Augusta Sakai, who just looked like a bigger version of him. Really enjoyed that fight, by the way. That was fun. Marcus, are we going to see Tai Tuivasa keep the fucking hot streak going, man?
That would be pretty surprising. I don't think so. I mean, I think the smart money and obviously the line is lining up with Derek. And I think when you look at the competition that he's faced and some of the wins he's gotten, you know, he's faced good competition and has performed well against them. I mean, and I would even take Francis out of that because that fight was, you know, a big nothing burger. But, you know, we've seen him, you know, against Alexander pull, you know, a win out of the jaws of defeat. And then we've seen him against, you know, wrestlers do well and other big guys. I feel like he tends to do worse against technical strikers that are able to kind of like, you know, gauge that distance and pick him apart from the outside. That's definitely what Gahn did. And Ty's not that fighter. Ty, you know, you have to imagine that this is going to be an action-packed fight, and sometimes with, you know, that, you know, excitement around the fight, it doesn't tend to deliver. But for all intensive purposes, this seems like it's just going to be these two guys knocking each other around, and I do feel like Derek will get the better of those exchanges. And especially when you look at, you know, Ty's fight with Greg Hardy. You know, Greg Hardy had him on the ropes. You know, Ty, I think, is a little bit more hittable than even Derek Lewis is. So I like those things for Derek. And some of the other untangibles, you know, we don't see Derek use his wrestling very often, but we have seen, you know, he's able to get off the ground if he needs to. So I think this is going to be a stand-up war, and I do think Derek will get the better of him. But, you know, if Ty could win, that's going to be a huge, you know, victory for him, because, you know, as much as sometimes I don't believe in Derek Lewis as much, like, this guy has fought for the title, you know, multiple times at this point. So it'd be a big win for him to get a W over.
Yeah, as much as we all have fun with Derek Lewis, like, you know, he's one of our favorites, and, you know, swanging and banging Black Beast in this hoe and all that fun stuff. But he's gotten better. Like, he is a top 5. He's a legitimate top 5 heavyweight at this point. Mike, Tai Tuivasa joining the top 5 club.
No. The only reason I picked against Derek Lewis the last time is because I kind of had to if I wanted a chance to win. Besides that, no, I wouldn't have picked against Derek Lewis, and I'm not picking against him now. Derek Lewis, that you mentioned, he is a top 5 heavyweight outside of the Cyril Gahn fight. He has gotten better with each fight. He's lost a lot of weight. He's really changed up his diet over the last 2 years, and he's deceptively quick for a man of his size. This fight isn't going to go to the ground, and in a battle of bangers, I will take Derek Lewis almost any day of the week.
Yeah, I was going to say, in swanging and banging fights, Derek Lewis, the only times I remember him not coming out on top in fights like that was Mark Hunt sticks out, which that was a dangerous game to play with Mark Hunt, because Mark Hunt's he swangs, bangs, and he's got technique. But he generally comes out in these type of fights. Remember, really early on in his career, he lost a fight to Matt Mitrione. But, you know, that was... God, Derek Lewis been in the UFC now for a long time. Like, this is almost 8 years he's been in the UFC. I got Derek Lewis too, man. I think it'd be really cool, though, in this division. I think Tai Tuivasa would be fun. You know, I mean, I was making the joke that they could have made this an interim title fight. Just do it. Just make this the interim title fight. Let's have some fun. They probably could, given the rankings here. I was wondering what he's ranked, actually, Tuivasa. Because he's won 4 straight in a division where winning a lot is... He's not even top 10. You win 4 heavyweight fights, Mark. You should be number 5 just by default. I don't care who you beat.
Definitely
like, this
was
division,
the case back in the day. But
yeah, this division's not that deep. Like, we're sure Biggie Boy should be ranked above Tai Tuivasa? Like, we're all positive about that? He's at 6? Like, I don't know. Maybe people aren't watching these fights. Okay, next fight we're picking. Jared Cannonier. Derek Brunson. We mentioned this earlier in the night. Seems like this is also booked as a bit of a backup in the event somebody in the main event gets hurt. Because we have, while we have Izzy at number as the champion, and the number 1 contender is Whittaker. Number 3 and number 4 is what's happening here. Jared Cannonier Brunson. So this is even if the fight goes as planned, this is a massively consequential fight. What's happening here? The Killer Gorilla, Jared Cannonier, coming a bounce back from a loss to Bobby Knuckles to beat Kelvin Gastelum by decision. This is back last August. 5 rounds. If I remember correctly, it wasn't that close. Oh, it was closer than I thought it was. He did win, though. 3 out of winning 3 rounds on 2 score, winning 3 rounds to 2 across all 3 judges' scorecards. Derek Brunson is really he's really hit a stride here in his career. I would really, Marcus, say that this is, I know he's 38 years old, but this is as good as Derek Brunson's ever been right here. 5 straight wins over Elias Theodoro, Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian, Kevin Holland, and Darren Till. Finishes over Till and Shabazian. Some criticism Brunson's gotten in the past as maybe not being the most exciting fighter at times, but man, he's getting it done here. You gotta imagine Brunson's hoping Whittaker wins, and Cannonier's hoping that Adesanya wins. The betting odds for this one, we got Cannonier at minus 176 to Derek Brunson's plus 142. This one is tough. This is a close one. Mike, who do you got?
Yeah, this one I'm gonna have to go against the favorite on this one and pick Brunson. I feel that Brunson's more methodical and wrestling-based style should be able to play out for the victory in this one.
Marcus?
It was so weird because I think when we were looking at this card earlier, it was very easy for myself to align with the line and pick all the favorites, and that's never right. Anytime I picked all the favorites, there's always going to be one outlier, and this was going to be the one I was going to pick Brunson instead. But since Mike took the pressure off, it's like I'll go with Jared Cannonier. I think Mike has some points out. I was just literally in the headspace of gearing myself up for Brunson's potential upset here. But even with that being said, I feel more comfortable with Jared Cannonier. I think, too, looking at Brunson's, like when you really look at his record, he has a lot of impressive wins. And you can even look back, we were just talking about, maybe this is the best stretch, but he had a good stretch in 2000 at the end of 2014 till the end of 2016, where he got a bunch of finishes. He knocked out Herdman, Sam Alvey, who was still around.
Do you think that those 2 fights back to back, you know which ones I'm talking about, the 2 losses, given how high profile they were, and honestly given I'm talking about, of course, the Jocker. I'm really talking about the Izzy fight. That one went as bad as humanly possible. And it was every criticism anybody ever had about Derek Brunson coming into light, really, that fight. It was right after he'd also lost to Jacare again. Do you think that hangs with people? Like, he's got 5 straight here, Mark, and he's the underdog. That's something. No?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is, and it may be unrightfully so, but I do feel at the same time, like, these 5 wins are good wins, but they're not quite like the top tier guys. And we've seen him fight the cream of the crop. He's literally fought the champion, the former champion, the greatest at middleweight. Ronaldo Souza was, always a top contender, and he lost all those guys. And this last streak of 5 wins, these are notable guys, but they're not quite like the cream of the crop. I don't think Till has ever really gotten there. Kevin Holland had a lot of hype around him, but I think we kind of knew he wasn't quite to that level yet. So I think you look at these last 5 wins, and impressive as they are, and just to be consistent, at this high a level, it has to be, commended. But I like Cannonier. I think he has the power. I think I think it's smart to pick Brunson in this, because I do think he has some tools that if he could get Cannonier to the ground and tire him out, he could take off some of that edge. But
he's a live dog.
Yeah. But I wanted to pick Cannonier. This was going to be me splitting myself from the pack and potentially gaining a point, but I also felt not super confident, and this could easily be a thing where I lose a point. So Mike took that pressure off. I'll sit back with my favorite and see how it goes.
What's the standings right now, Mike?
It's a good thing you would ask that, Bobby. Very early on in the season. It's true. We've barely picked any fights over the last month and a half.
Bunch of crappy cards is what happens.
Yeah, that'll do it.
We're gonna have like
All right.
40 picks this entire year.
So, all of us got a W last week. So, three snaps and a clap for all of us. Bobby and I are 4-2. DJ, Mark, and Chalk are 3-3.
Fair enough. I'll take Brunson also. I'm kind of digging the old. I'm kind of you know me. I like when the old guys go on a bit of a run. And he's 38 years old. This is his big push.
Just so you know, Jared Cannonier is literally a year younger than him.
Yeah, but I don't think he has nearly as many fights. Does he?
He hasn't. No.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like But Derek's been fighting and came out of Strikeforce for the love of God. Like it feels weird saying that makes him old. He was in Strikeforce, but he's 30 fights in. So
there's no one in their 20s that fought in Strikeforce anymore.
That's probably a fair assessment.
That's how time works.
That's how time works.
That's how time works.
We're not picking Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo because no one knows who Marcelo Rojo is. Kyler Phillips is a minus 600 favorite. I think it's still something like that, which is, he's minus 385. Still a massive favorite. We're not picking that. Just there's no point for us to pick a fight like that. Something we want to mention, though, well, let's pick our last fight, and we'll talk about a couple other notable ones. Nasrat, Hakparast, coming off of a loss to Darren Hooker, taking on Bobby Green, who was during the 2020, this last couple of years is the most active Bobby Green has been possibly ever, it feels like. Or at least in recent memory, Marcus, because I feel that was like the stretch where Bobby Green would fight for like 1 year. Mm-hmm. Now, Bobby Green really been fighting a lot. But he's bounced back from 2 losses to beat Ally Quinta. Honestly, I was really impressed. We all probably wonder how much Al was into it, considering he retired after that fight. But he did also say he's kind of coming back maybe now. So anyway, betting odds for this one, we got Bobby Green coming in as a minus 145 favorite to, minus 158 favorite to Nasrat's plus 128 underdog. I'm taking Bobby Green. I don't have reasons. I've seen both these guys fight. I've seen Bobby Green fight far more. I like Bobby Green he's not just standing there acting like he's not getting hit by punches, man. Bobby Green does a lot of talking and dancing in Bobby Green fights previously. He's very much seems to have upped his game in recent times. You know, I know he's lost 2 fights before those before that Ally Quinta win, but you know, man, really, you know, this seems like the level of fight he can win. So I got Bobby Green. Mark?
Yeah, as well. I got Bobby too. You know, like the guy a lot. I don't remember Nasrat's fights that well, I should say. So it's really hard to draw a comparison. This pick is mostly just going off of, I like Bobby. He's the favorite, so he should win this fight for the people that did do the research. So I'm going all chalk this one, which the records show hasn't been so great, but you know, let's see if it can turn itself around.
Hey, this is the 11th anniversary of the time we went to Vegas and bet an entire chalk parlay, all of us, and all made money and all hugged like we won the Super Bowl.
It works sometimes.
I remember Mike was Jake Ellenberger's family, trying to tell them that he bet on their kid, and they did not give a fuck. Mike, who do you got in this one?
I was just trying to spread the love, you know, and the happiness. I mean, their kid won.
Mike and I literally were hugging and jumping, you and me, when we both it was right after Anderson front kicked Vitor's head off, and we just yes, jumping up and down. Go ahead, man. Who's your pick?
What a beautiful way to win money. Yeah, we're gonna be sweeping this one. I can't remember watching Nasrat fight. I think I remember watching that Dan Hooker fight, but honestly, can't remember it. So I'm gonna go with the guy I actually remember fighting, Bobby Green.
4 years in the UFC, he's barely memorable too. Is saying something. All right, some notable fights on this one. Andre Arlovsky's still fighting, guys. Andre Arlovsky is still fighting. Mm-hmm. He's still out there. My man is winning fights. They just keep giving him these young guys. You know, this will be 3 straight. If Andrei Arlovsky wins this, give this man a title shot. That's 3 straight. Okay, he's already won 4 or 5. You know, that's good work by old man Arlovsky,
You know what? When was the last time he had an actual finish in the UFC? I'm not seeing none of those, man.
I don't care.
Travis Brown, 2015.
Yo, he is Maximus's father. Okay, I hope that dog is doing okay.
Is that dog still alive?
Okay, now let's not be sad, Mike. Jesus.
Just saying. Dog. That's maybe 10 years.
And we're gonna get the retirement fight of favorite of the podcast, just as nice in real life when you meet her, Roxanne Modafferi, taking on Casey O'Neill. I don't know who Casey O'Neill is, but she's a very big favorite, which makes me think Roxanne is... The retirement fight might be a short one. This is what my worry is. But, you know...
It is most likely going to be a short one. Can all salute and applaud Roxanne's career. She's one of the pioneers of women's MMA. And also congratulations to her, because if I read correctly, she's engaged.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Yeah, she really had a good second act there, Marcus, after she went and joined Syndicate MMA, I believe, is the one in Vegas. Is the one she really started putting it together, you know, got a title shot in there. She at one point she won 4 or 5. You know, coming off of Invicta. So I don't know. Going out in the UFC, head held high. Veteran of 44 cage fights. Maybe she goes out with a win. Maybe she doesn't. But congratulations to Miss Modafferi.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it with this card. Alex Perez on this card, not bad. This has got like 15 fights on it again. There's how is Moicano versus... I said this last week. Alexander Hernandez versus Renato Moicano just happening on the Fight Pass part of this card, or the ESPN Plus part of this card, is kind of crazy to me, but is what it is. Anyway, that's what we got going MMA wise this week. Say we do some stuff we like, guys.
Right on.
As I quickly make sure there's no Bellator card.
I also just share something to Bobby.
Yeah, thank
probably
you.
Very, very pertinent to you as well, Mark. Did you know that your mask mandate expires on the 15th?
Yeah, we already knew that. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mike. We're
getting close.
We're Googling that shit every 2 hours.
Just in case the news, in your neck of the woods didn't reach you yet. I'm trying to help you guys out.
Well, definitely not some. The viewers know that, come the 15th, we won't have to wear a mask when we do the show.
Raw dog in the air, baby.
Worth mentioning, one championship is happening this week with a pretty badass fight of John Lineker versus Bibiano Fernandez. Which,
nice.
That actually, cool. I would like to see that fight of just Bibiano trying to avoid John Lineker throwing fucking, haymakers at him while he walks him down. And we got Jussier Formiga fighting on LFA. Pointing this out because I'm pretty sure the Fight Pass subscription I paid for all of us expires soon. So if anybody wants to watch this shit, there's that. All right, stuff we like. Mark, you want to lead it off?
Yeah, sure. This week kind of kicks off a month and some change of a lot of really fun games coming out. It's been a while, at least personally, for there to be kind of a flood of video game releases that I was really excited about. And 2 of them come out this week, and one of them I actually got to play yesterday. So on the 8th, or actually when you guys are listening to this, Sifu on PlayStation 5, 4, and PC on the Epic Game Store has come out, and also Ollie Ollie World. So personally, I knew these 2 games were coming on the 8th. I was very excited for both of them. I really thought Sifu was definitely the one I was most interested in. If you haven't seen this, it's kind of a kung fu beat-em-up style game with the main kind of hook being that every time you die, your character ages a year or more, depending on how many times you've died and what your little death counter is like. But I mean, visually, the game has a really cool art style, low poly textures, which has kind of been kind of this new wave of games coming out. Like I mentioned, Deep Rock Galactic kind of has a similar aesthetic with the low poly count textures and stuff like that. But visually, really stunning. The animations for the fighting is fantastic. The soundtrack is great. Like I mentioned, I got to play a little bit of it, and I have been enjoying it. But the big criticism of the game and it not reviewing quite as high as I thought it was going to is that it's very difficult. And I can attest to this, that it is a very hard game that not only wants you to master its systems, but kind of makes you have to be successful in the game because of this death mechanic where you're constantly aging up. Once you hit a certain age, you can't continue. You basically, when you lose there, you have to start your run, quote unquote, over again. And basically it's not really like a roguelike, although it has some of those elements. You're not getting like random power-ups each time, but you are able to upgrade certain abilities, and when you upgrade them enough, they become permanent, which is kind of a nice feature. And it is a way to have some kind of constant progression, even if you are doing runs that you're not, progressing in the story. But it's been difficult. And it's definitely been a game where I've put in 30, 45 minutes trying to redo a level and just not being as successful as I need to be, getting frustrated and being like, I'm going to call it now. But, to its, benefit, it is a game that, like, after I quit, I'm like, I kind of want to go back and try again. So that's been really good. So on the other hand, we have Ollie Ollie World, which is the third game in the Ollie Ollie series, which has been a game that I've really been a big fan of since it first came out. It's a 2D skateboarding game, and kind of its hook early on, at least in the first two games, was that not only you doing these kick flips and tricks on your board using the analog stick, but I think what kind of set it apart is a big portion of your score and the mechanic of the game is sticking your landings when you're doing these tricks. So as you're coming down on the trick, you hit the A button to kind of stick your landing, which I thought was a really interesting aspect that a lot of the other skating games haven't really delved into as much. One of the, I wouldn't even say criticisms, but one of the things that didn't stand out about the game was, like, it didn't have a very unique art style to it. It was kind of going for, a pixel art aesthetic, which I think was fine and serviceable. The biggest adjustment to Ollie Ollie World, I think, is the art direction. It has taken, basically, it looks a lot more cartoonish. It looks, and it has, a lot of people point to Adventure Time. I think that is a very apt comparison. It looks like the Adventure Time cartoon, and I think that really
Wait, they're comparing a skating game to Adventure Time?
For its art direction, and it's, basically how the characters are drawn, which I think really makes it stand out, which is something that when you look at Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2, it's pixel art. It looked fine. It was completely serviceable, but it didn't really stand out from the crowd. And when they finally, debuted Ollie Ollie World, it really stuck out. It has a lot of attitude and charisma and just visual pop to it, as well as them going to more of a 3D engine. So they're able to do some more things in the foreground and background. And I guess they've also tweaked the gameplay, is that, sticking the landing mechanic is still there, but it's not nearly as required. You don't have to stick landings to, not fall off your skateboard. Overall, I heard that it's a bit more lenient, so it could be a little bit more accessible, which I think is good, because it also was a tough game to get into. Fortunately, I was able to kind of break that barrier and was able to, be successful and be able to progress in the game. But I definitely have heard a lot of people say, like, I just couldn't get into it because it was particularly tough. So I think that was the correct move for them. The game reviewed much better than I thought it was going to, getting into like the 90s or high 80s on Metacritic, where Sifu's kind of in the mid 70s, and that's with a grain of salt. I mean, you really have to have your own experience to, judge the games. Don't purely go off their Metacritic score. But at the end of the day, I was surprised that those two games kind of placed where they did, because I would have thought Sifu, which I was super excited about, would have been higher, and Ollie Ollie World maybe kind of got drowned out a little bit. But I was really excited to see that it's been received so well. So yeah, those are two awesome games that are basically out now.
What are they on?
So Sifu is a PlayStation and Epic Game Store exclusive, and then Ollie Ollie World's on everything: Switch, Xbox, PC, PlayStation. That's pretty much it. I don't think
next gen, or any gen.
I think they're both next gen. I think I know Sifu's there's a PS5 and Ollie Ollie World. Yeah, so it's all gens for Ollie Ollie World. There's nothing that can't play on, I guess. And then it's a PlayStation and Epic Store exclusive for Sifu, but really cool.
Okay. I'll go because I was watching a bunch of old stuff. I'm hoping Mike ends with this with a bang. Some exciting recommendation.
Yeah.
Let's see. Everybody, I'm just gonna say it. Y'all should be watching Peacemaker. I'm all in. I don't want to spoil anything. Also, because I don't think
that last episode was good.
Woo! It was. Mark, are you caught up?
I haven't seen 6. I just watched 5 this last.
5 was good too. 5 was good too. 6, a lot of stuff happens in 6. Just a lot of stuff. I think it's only 8 episodes too. This show.
Wait, am I back in episode? Have I watched episode 6?
Couldn't tell you.
Well, we'll talk after this episode and see what the last thing Mark saw is, and we'll see if that lines up with the last thing you saw. I think it's just really well done. I don't know if they got picked up for a second season yet, did they? Because they should.
I haven't heard anything, but
it's a really good show. And I'm not just saying that because, it's got John Cena in it. And I mean, that wouldn't be a reason, though. I don't even like John Cena that much. He's doing a great job, though. Like, fully. I remain impressed with his, how much he's putting into this thing. Besides that, it was my birthday on Saturday. I'm old.
What?
Yeah, I'm old. Thank you to my friends and family, all of them. Went with my girlfriend to a place in Emeryville called The Hidden Spot. Got myself a burger. It's a burger place. Wagyu
How'd you
burgers.
find it?
Oh, it was tough. Because I was questioning the whole thing because we got there. I'm not making a joke. I parked and she's like, hey, it's here. And I'm like, well, it says somewhere else. Like, we're going to The Hidden Spot. The name of this thing is Hometown Heroes. She's like, no, it's got a different name. And I'm like, okay. And then we went inside and they're like, oh, you scan this QR code and you order burgers. Very good. I'm not proud of the fact that I ordered something called the BM burger. And then it took me far longer than I'm willing to admit, really, that BM stood for Banh Mi burger. I ate half the burger that was full of pickled carrots and daikons. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's what this is. Really good. Went back to my place, played with the dog, she was kind enough to make me chili relleno, which is my favorite Mexican food. And I was kind enough to make her watch a bunch of stuff she probably didn't want to watch on YouTube.
It's your birthday.
Exactly. I literally was I was just watching old ass stuff on Peacock, old ass wrestling at one point in there.
Did you,
How to be small
did
wrestling.
did you show her when Undertaker just blasted Maven in the head? I've watched that at least once a month.
Oh, yeah. She's listening to this. Next weekend, we're watching Maven get blasted in the head
So bad.
by The Undertaker, okay? Fucking concussion protocol be damned. He beat his ass. You should watch the whole match. Beat his ass continually. I thought you were going to say Undertaker throwing Mankind off the cell.
Mean.
Yeah, it's real mean. But yeah, hung out with my family on Sunday. My brother made me some Wagyu steaks. I just put on weight this weekend, guys. My mom made ghormeh sabzi, my favorite Persian dish, which I got a bunch in my fridge right now. Just put on weight, Just, that was it. But I had a good time, and, what I like, and this is going to sound kind of mean, or it does, I don't know. I'm enjoying all this Joe Rogan stuff because I'm just finding it real funny to hear so many white people think it matter to me when they say they stand with Joe Rogan after Joe Rogan says the N-word. When Jake Shields and, Tim Kennedy,
allies.
huh?
Those are not good allies.
Tim Kennedy and Frankie Edgar, and it's just one white dude after another, and Michael Rappaport, and any white everybody tell me, and look, I don't think Joe Rogan, honestly, I never met Joe Rogan. He probably shouldn't have said those jokes he did, when he should have said the N-word, and that Planet of the Apes bit was pretty offensive.
Honestly, all right. Pretty much everything else I could understand because the way he was using the word, it's like, all right. I mean, maybe he shouldn't have said it, but the way he was using it's like, okay, whatever. The Planet of the Apes thing is like, damn, that's not good. That was.
Look, okay, I don't necessarily think Joe Rogan's a racist, but I'm enjoying all this. I also, because I'm just like, you thought you were just going to get $100 million and nobody was going to question you and your bullshit? Like, you are steering into the bullshit, buddy. People are like, they're trying to cancel Rogan, and I'm like, he'll always have a job at the UFC. They don't care. And he'll be fine. He's got a $100 million contract.
I mean,
I'm just enjoying the whole thing.
Worse, he goes back to YouTube and boom, that's it.
Like,
he'll still get his 100 million.
He should have stayed independent, man. You know, you think FanDuel owns Pat McAfee's show? No, they pay him sponsorship money. You keep your own show. Just saying. That being said, if they wanted to give me $100 million to do anything, I would have said yes too. So,
yep.
Anyway, I've really been enjoying that. But yeah, nice birthday weekend, and I'm gonna watch a Super Bowl this coming weekend, and me and Mike are gonna get paid because we're gonna gamble on it, and we are excellent at gambling.
That's right, plus 850 odds on the Bengals. Your boy got. I wish I'd bet more than $10.
Yeah, beat LA. You know, go Bengals.
That's
I guess. I think my brother's gonna go to the game. He's trying to work that out right now.
Least surprising thing I have heard today.
He's just trying to make it happen. I mean, it's my brother. It's the way it is. Mike, what do you got this week?
Nikki being involved in once in a lifetime experiences. That's a once in a month thing for him.
I don't know if this is it not a good sign where I don't know.
For the moment, maybe I'll make that happen.
I legitimately don't know if he's ever been to a Super Bowl before. Maybe. I know he's been to the NBA Finals a few times, and I know him and my dad went to the NCAA football championship when it was here. By the way, they decided to go to that on half an hour notice of being like, hey, I can buy these tickets. No, it's funny. He tried to get me to split some shitty tickets with him. This is just a side story now. And I said, man, I literally said, I don't want to go. I got to record the podcast. It's a Monday night. And then he calls my dad 10 minutes later, and then my dad's like, Nikki hornswoggled me into paying like $300 to sit closer for this stupid fucking college football game. Anyway. That's all I got this week. Mike, what do you got?
I would honestly be more surprised if Nicky's never gone to a Super Bowl.
We'll see.
for me this week, it's a show that premiered on Amazon Prime on Friday. It's a show called Reacher. You guys have probably seen. I think Tom Cruise had 2 movies playing the character back a few years ago.
I saw the first one. I liked it.
From what I gathered, I never watched them, but from what I gathered, people did enjoy the movies. They were good movies because, let's face it, Tom Cruise doesn't make bad movies. But people that read the Reacher novels always fought against Tom Cruise. The Short King.
I was gonna say, I know this. Tom Cruise is as tall as me.
Short
and Reacher's
King, Tom Cruise being Jack Reacher, because in the novelizations, Jack Reacher is like a hulking 6'5",
he's a real beefy son of a bitch.
Beefy genius character. And Tom Cruise is not 6'5". Invert those numbers and, maybe that's his height. So it's the guy who played Thad in The League, if you guys ever watched that, or I think he was Hawk in DC's Titans. I don't know what his actual name is, but
I think he was Donatello in the Ninja Turtles movie too.
I think you're correct. Yes. The first 3 episodes premiered on Amazon Prime on Friday. I burned through them. It's a very well written show. A lot of action and a lot of like little spy fair things that are pretty cool. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, give Reacher a watch.
I'm gonna need Amazon. I mean, I'm not gonna cancel Amazon Prime because they
got you.
What the fuck else am I gonna do?
Got you.
But you think by the way, you think you have the Amazon credit card? They would just give you Prime, but it's besides the point. They haven't put a show on in a while that I've watched on Amazon Prime. What was the last one actually? What was the cartoon?
Invincible?
Yeah, that was like 6 months ago though, wasn't it?
Oh, I feel like it was way more than 6 months ago now.
It's longer than that. When did The Boys end?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of just blurred together.
Yeah. Boys, I need The Boys to come back. I need Umbrella Academy to come back. I need my like mediocre superhero shit to come back. All right. I've been watching Daredevil back. The first season. Holds up.
See, you're one of the reasons why that show is back in Netflix's top 10.
That's why I watched it, because it's in the top 10. I'm like, I'll watch Daredevil. I was like, I'm gonna watch Daredevil again, and I was like, at first I was like, I should watch. Where am I with Jessica Jones? I'm like, oh, I abandoned the third season because it was terrible. That's what did it. It was hard to keep up with those shows when they canceled them. So
I don't even think I watched the third season of Jessica Jones.
I still need to watch need to is a strong word. I still haven't watched the third season of Jessica Jones, second season of Punisher, and I made it an episode into the second season of Iron Fist and thought this is far less shitty than it was first season.
Yeah,
but the first season was real bad.
Yeah,
second season I'm like, that's not bad. Just don't care. I just don't care anymore. Anyway, we'll be back next week. We're gonna see if we have a new middleweight champion. Normally, there's other questions we ask. We're going to see who the next contender is at middleweight, possibly. Though, if the last two guys standing here are Derek Lewis and Israel Adesanya, someone tell Henry Cejudo it's bulking season, baby. We can get him right up to 185 immediately. All right? Thank you all for listening. I was Dr. Law. It's DJ Mark. That was Lavender Gooms. See y'all next week. Fuck the Rams. Go Bengals. Peace.
See ya.
Goodbye.